record button. Yes. So now recording in progress. So again, welcome to this session where we'll be discovering on this topic, how to raise successful kids. It's just that many of us are still kids until today. That's also an issue. Before I get going, just like to acknowledge and honor all of you for being here. I'd like to go to each one of you just for you to introduce yourself to the meeting. Just tell us your name and where you are connecting from. Okay, so I'll just start with Marilyn. Go ahead, Marilyn. You need to unmute yourself, Marilyn.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Marilyn Chua. I'm from Klang.
Thank
Hi,
you.
everyone. I'm Jason.
Hi, Jason. Thank you for joining us. And on my screen, Dr. Noor Saadah, she doesn't have video, and I think she doesn't have audio as well. However, I hope that you will be able to enjoy the session this evening. Next one, Guat Ching.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm from PJ, Guat Ching from PJ.
Thank you, Guat Ching. And over to you, Edna.
Hello, everyone. I'm Edna. I'm from Klang.
From Klang as well. Oh, wow.
Yes.
People from Klang. Next,
Klang people representing.
Next, Wyman.
Hi, I'm Wyman. I'm from Mauritius. It's an island in the Indian Ocean.
Thank you. And I hope that with the global warming and sea level rise, it will not affect how you are living there.
No.
And next, I would just like to invite Manal, if you can introduce your name and where you are calling from.
I'm Manal Badra from Egypt.
Thank you for joining us, Manal. And I noticed that there are quite a number of people from Egypt who signed up for this session this evening. So I hope that they are able to get in here. Oh, we've dropped the call with Faisal just now. And going over to Cherag. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Chirag and I am also from Klang.
You're also from Klang. Thank you very much. So I really appreciate all of you being here this evening, and I hope that with the discussion that we are going to have this evening, it will be useful for you in whatever way that you are going to use it for. Because we have parents in this room, parents with small, tiny little children, and we have parents with already grown-up children. So probably you are preparing yourself for grandparenting. And that's what I'm doing. And we also have people who are planning for parenting in the future. So every one of you, you are welcome to this session. What we'll be doing is we'll be having a discussion for about an hour or so. However, what I will do is that as I bring in topics, I'll bring in topics just point by point, and we'll have small discussions after each point. In that way, I don't need to listen to my voice continuously. I can also listen to your voice as well. And before going on, just like to welcome Danielle. You've just joined us. Danielle, can you just mention your name and where you are calling from?
Hi, Mr. Majuki. Sorry, I'm late. My name is Danielle. I'm calling from PJ.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Danielle. And Faisal, you keep dropping in and out. Go ahead if you are able to speak, Faisal. Oh, we don't have audio from you, Faisal.
Okay, dah settle.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
Just my first time using my tablet.
Ah.
Normally I using my laptop, kan. So
Yeah.
everything okay dah. Sorry.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. Thank you. And welcome, Hashim, just welcoming each person over here. So just mention your name and where you are calling from.
Hashim, I'm calling from Klang.
We have a very good representation from Klang this evening.
And I was relieved last 2 nights because the train that I normally take, and my daughter and my son, the Klana line, that is the train that we used to take to go in and out of KL. We missed that accident.
Ooh.
We were not on that train.
Alhamdulillah.
Because we are all working from home.
Mm.
And second relief is because the chairman was given the put of his chairmanship of that prasarana. I love that.
Okay, that was our dinner topic as well. And just want to welcome Bonnie. Bonnie, go ahead, mention your name and where you're calling from.
Thank you, Marzuki. Assalamualaikum. Yes, I'm at home too. Nowhere to go. So also surviving this.
Where is home for you?
Bukit Jalil.
Bukit Jalil. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And my darling wife is also here. G, would you like to just mention your name? And of course, I know where you're calling from. However, for the benefit of the others.
Hi, I'm sorry, I have to off my my camera. I am calling. What is it? Where do I call from? Well, okay, I'm calling from upstairs, Marzuki's house. That is in Kota Damansara. Okay, what else? Introduce myself. Okay, I am the better half to Marzuki.
Yes, I agree to that.
Joking.
And just to draw your attention, G, do you notice Wyman? She's in the room today.
Yeah, I saw that. I said, who's this lady? Looks so familiar. Okay. Let me put my headdress and then I on my camera.
Okay, and we also have Fadila Zahari just joining us. We are introducing ourselves, so if you can just mention your name and where you are calling from.
Okay. I am Fadila from Kedah, Changlun, Kedah. Okay. Nice to follow you. So banyak kali dah kita cuba nak ni, and unfortunately hari ni alhamdulillah ada rezeki nak join.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Good. So it's such a pleasure having all of you. Now, for this session, I choose the topic of how to raise children to be successful, how to raise successful kids. And I probably can say almost all parents want their children to be successful, right or not? We want our children to be successful, and we have our hopes and dreams for our child. And we have in part of our hopes and dreams what we want them to achieve in life. And there are many things that we want our children to achieve in life. However, it starts off probably being able to go to the toilet by themselves. So they're probably the among the first few things. However, later on when they go to school, we want them to do well in school, and we hope that they'll be able to get good jobs, will be able to have a good life in the future. I'm just noticed Mark joining us. Hi, Mark. Nice seeing you.
Nice seeing you too.
Pleasure seeing you. Thank you. Yeah, it's just that as we have our hopes and expectations, when our children grow up, they have their own hopes and expectations. So there's that facilitation that needs to come in, things like we want them to do one thing and they want to do other things. So I hope that sounds familiar, Marilyn. We just need to put it into the whole agenda. Now, the thing about as parents, we tend to think of what's in front of us, things like getting good grades at school, things like going to a good university, going to getting a good job. At the same time, what I would also bring to our attention is that for long term, what else it is that we want to bring. So that's why what I would like to be discussing this evening is looking at this definition of success that we have. I'd just like to look into that definition for a bit, because when we are talking about long term, apart from the tangible goals that our children want to achieve, things like what kind of person do you want your child to be? What values do you want your child to embody? And what contributions do you want your children to bring into this world? So what I would just like to do, the first point over here, is just to open up our thinking, just to explore in this context of successful kids, because the tendency for us, and it is a normal trait, that the tendency for us is to think about what's in front of us. Yeah? And part of what inspired me to have this topic, to talk about this topic this evening, was at one time I had this sudden urge to just go into the forest and look at the what's in the forest. And there was this forest called just about to say the name of the forest, and I can it slipped my mind. It's the whole forest part of the Pahang jungle. Afterwards, when it comes to mind, I'll mention it. So there I was driving a whole day to get to the place, and when I got there, anybody can refresh me, the forest in Pahang, Johor, what do we call that forest? Yes, it's part of Taman Negara. Yes, it's part of... Yes, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Endau Rompin. So I drove the whole day, went to stay at a small hotel, and the next morning I drove into this Endau Rompin, and there I was at this Endau Rompin resort, and I looked around me, I saw the river, I saw the trees, and I said, yes, this is Endau Rompin. And then it hit me. It's just a fraction of Endau Rompin. I couldn't see the whole forest. That's why we say not being able to see the forest for the trees. So that's why I want to bring this topic, because sometimes we just can't see what's in front of us. We are not able to go beyond, because by understanding, by being aware of what's beyond, it allows us to be more strategic in achieving what's in front of us. So I'm just going to bring in the whole forest and to acknowledge the trees, to appreciate the trees, at the same time to bring to the back of our mind what's the whole forest. So when we talk about success, the part about getting good grades at school, having a good career in their profession or business when they grow up, our kids, those are what we call the having goals, the goals of what they are going to have, what they are going to achieve in life. And then the other part is the part of being, who they are, who they turn out to be as a person. So that's why I asked the question, what kind of person do you want your child to be? What values do you want your child to embody? What contributions do you want your child to bring to this world. So that's the forest bit. That's the bigger picture. So as you are bringing in the tangible goals, the ones that are in front of us, to be aware that as you are raising your children to achieve those tangible goals, and I want to affirm to you here, those goals of getting good grades, getting good jobs, good businesses in the future are important goals. At the same time, once we strategize our support to them in achieving those goals and having the long-term goals in mind, then we are able to achieve what they call killing two birds with one stone. Otherwise, if we are not aware of what's the long term, then they may achieve the short-term goals and they can fall short of the long-term goal. So that's why when it comes to this definition of success, I'd just like to invite you to bring in those being goals. What type of person that you want your children to be when they become adults like you, and when they become, they go into the middle age, when they go into the old age. Yeah, I mean, it might be a little bit of a stretch imagining Xander to be a middle age or old age. However, he's going to grow. He's going to grow to be that person. So to cast your mind to go there as well. Okay, so that's what I'm inviting you to do. So from the neurosemantics perspective, I just want to offer to you that when we talk about the long-term goals, as parents, we want to groom our children, we want to grow our children, we want to develop them. As parents, the long-term goal from the neurosemantics perspective is the characteristics that our children will embody, the characteristics of the self-actualizing person. So these are the long-term goals. How will our children connect with other human beings, connect with the people around them? So these are the characteristics of the self-actualizing people. I hope maybe in one of the sessions, I may want to just bring this topic because Abraham Maslow listed 20 characteristics of self-actualizing people. And self-actualizing people are people who are in full integrity with the values, and the way that they are operating in this world are ways that are bringing value to the society. So that's what I just want to maybe tickle your fancy for the moment, to be thinking about our children growing up to be, the word that I will use is useful members of society, because we as human beings, we are members of that society. Now, our role I would say in the short and medium term, at least until our children are 18 years old, our role is to help them to develop themselves in their psychosocial stages. We've mentioned this in one of our previous meetings. So part of how we can help our children to become self-actualizing individuals is to fulfill our task of helping them to develop through their psychosocial stages. So just to give you an just a quick recap on this psychosocial stages, I'd just like to share the screen so that you can have a quick recap of the psychosocial stages. Okay, so these are the development process that we need to take care of in order for our children to grow up to be human beings that are stable, that are well balanced, and take their place in society. social development, meaning to say we human beings, we are social beings. So to be able to develop, become valuable members of society, the first part in Erik Erikson's psychosocial development is the development of hope. And this comes with a healthy development of trust and mistrust. So that will create hope. So these are social values. Hope. The next level is will. To be able to move or be powered by their own will. They have that autonomy in order to conduct themselves in society. The third stage, developmental stage, is purpose, doing things with full purpose. So they are able to take initiative in order to fulfill, to do things according to the purpose that they have in mind. The fourth one is competency. We need to help them to develop that competency, because competency is comes from being able to do things, performance, industry. So that's what the word industry is about. They are industrious in doing things in order to achieve their goals. The fifth stage is fidelity, meaning to say their identity is congruent rather than being conflicted. So that's what we are referring to, fidelity. So they know who they are not confused about their identity. And as they grow older, stage number 6, we are talking about going on from the ages of 14, 16 onwards, the development of love, meaning to say referring to intimacy, to be able to be comfortable being intimate with another human being. And then as our children grow to become young adults, now we are talking about care, the stage of the social value of care, to be able to generate, to be creative and generative in their behavior. What they are doing is bringing in added value to the lives and the lives of others. And as they move on beyond I would say middle age, so begin to develop wisdom. That is to have ego integrity, meaning to say the sense of self is again not conflicted. At the same time, they have a healthy sense of ego. So these are what I'm referring to as the first part when we talk about success, not just success as what's in front. So when we want to develop our children to become successful kids, yes, we want them to be able to achieve the things that are in front of them. At the same time, to also focus on the long-term development, because once we know what the long term is, how we are going to achieve the short term is going to make a difference. How we strategize the getting good grades, how we strategize the getting good jobs for them will be different if we know what's in the long term. So that's what I just want to bring to your attention. The first point, when we talk about how to raise successful kids. So the first point is just to be aware of the definitions of success. And from Neuro-Semantics perspective, the long-term success for a person is that self-actualizing human being. Okay, I'm going to pause there and give any one of you the opportunity to ask questions or to comment. Go ahead, just unmute yourself and go ahead. We have Vanessa just joined us. Hi, Vanessa, thank you for joining us.
Hi, so sorry.
It's okay, Vanessa, and I hope you notice that Wyman is here.
I'm just in a small phone, so I cannot see everybody yet. I was doing my parental duty. I was having a one-on-one with my son, and it turned out we just ran over our time.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Yeah, and Vanessa's joining us from Manila. So, are you in Manila or somewhere else outside of Manila right now?
Manila, yes.
Okay. Okay, so for Vanessa's benefit, we just dissected this definition for success because we want our children to be successful kids. So we had a brief discussion on what success for the short term and long term. So anyone has got any ideas or thoughts or comments, go ahead. Okay, so everyone good?
Perhaps I can,
yes, go
perhaps
ahead.
I can comment, Masuki. So one of the things that I've learned, so I have two children. My daughter is 17 and my son is 13. And one of the things that I've learned parenting is sometimes it's not so much about what I want for them, it's what they want. And parenting from their perspective and not just from mine. So the question, what do I want as a parent? It's actually integrating what they want too. So that's just my getting that balance. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a very important point. And Wyman, when you mentioned that point, I remember the analogy of the stone angel. I keep repeating this story. Our children, they come to us, they appear as a block of stone. We don't know what's inside there.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's also a beautiful poem by a poet. He says, "Your children are not your children; they are your sons and daughters of life's longing for life itself." So they don't actually they come through you, but they don't belong to you per se. So just exactly what you're saying, Masuki, that they can. It's a nurturing process that we do as parents. We're nurturing from what they need as well. Yeah. So I've dropped that poem in the chat box.
That's beautiful. That's beautifully said. Thank you, Wyman, for that. Touches me here. Yeah. So even though we may have great success in certain areas of our lives, for example, swimming. If he begins to show his talent in that particular area, go ahead and encourage him. Right, Marilyn? Yeah, they don't belong to us. We are custodians. And our role is not to shape them according to the image that we want. Our role is just to take out the obstacles that's preventing them from being who they need to be. Hashim, go ahead.
Yeah, I had this conversation with a group of parents and teachers. By parents and teachers, they are from Form 1 to Form 5, parents and teachers. And we are having some sort of upcoming programs for the children. And quite a few parents were sort of skeptical in the way that they were asking, are these going to help in the exam? So from that perspective, I said, why is that matter to you? Oh yes, examination matters most to me, because whatever you do, my son or daughter has to be among the top in the class. If not, it doesn't meet my expectations and my needs. I said, okay. Then I asked around the other parents, and the other parents said, okay, well, but what they are going to do is actually to allow the children to express what their interests are and to see where they can actually put themselves into that space of creativity. Of course, the parents said, this is not going to be asked in the exam, but this is preparing life. This is preparing their life. Yeah, so from that, I conclude sort of some parents, not all, they are so they are so drilled down to the exam, results, so much so that we want to do some sort of activities. Does this help in the exam? So there is a very short kind of a time frame of thinking that it's only the exam that matters, and above that, it doesn't matter. So that's the perspective that I have when talking to this group of parents and teachers.
Right. Thank you, Hashim, for that wonderful input. So that's why I start off this session by opening up that definition for successful children that we want to have. Because if all that we see are the trees, we will not be able to navigate through the whole forest. The trees are important because if you don't look at the trees, you'll bump into the tree and injure yourself. So both the trees and the forest are important. And the point that Hashim mentioned just now is the danger when parents are not able to see the forest. All that they see are the trees, and they strategize everything just to reach the tree. Beyond the tree, everything is then is left to chance. So when we talk about successful kids, we want to be able to get them to achieve their tangible goals, those trees, and as well to be able to become men and women of high value to society. Yeah. So this is what we are referring to as successful kids. Okay. So let's move to the how to be able to do that. Now, what the points that I'm going to bring to you, I've prepared 7 things over here. I don't know whether we'll have time to cover all 7. Before we go into them, what I just want to bring to your attention, none of these are secrets that people don't know. I suspect you know all of them already. Now, the approach that I'm bringing to you is that from those behaviors or categories of behaviors that we bring for our children, I would like for you to also to look into what's driving those behaviors and what contexts are those behaviors useful for. Because if we take those behaviors, for example, my first point is praise and affirmation. Yeah, so that's one of the things that we can do with our children, to praise them, to affirm them. If we don't know the context, how to use them, then we can get into trouble, and our children can get into trouble as well. So what I've prepared here, there are 7 of them. One is praise and affirmations. The second one is feedback. The third is minding relationships. The fourth is value reinforcement. The fifth one is tasks. Number 6 is on boys and girls. And number 7 is about money and wealth. So these are the 7 items that when we bring to our children in the right and healthy way, we are putting them on the, I would say, on the advantageous footing for success in life. So let's just take the first one, that is praise and affirmations. Now, the intention, So from Neuro-Semantics perspective, just exploring the intention matrix, the intention for praise and affirmations is encouragement. We do that because we want to encourage them. And when do we encourage them? When things go right. So that's when praises come. When things work out, we give them praise. It's just that we want to be able to differentiate between person and behavior. Person refers to self. Behavior is about the skills our children have. So when we talk about the person, we want to affirm our child, the person, unconditionally, so that our child can develop a healthy, unconditional self-regard. So when you affirm your child, you are a good boy, you are a good girl, affirm it unconditionally, so that they take that as their being. They are unconditional. When we praise them for a behavior, what we do is we are praising the effort or the skill. To not confuse between person and behavior. The reason why we need to do that is it translates, because if we confuse between person and behavior in our praise, it translates into confusion of the fixed mindset versus growth mindset. If we praise our child, oh, you are so intelligent, you are so clever, you are so handsome, you are so pretty, that is an innate potential that is fixed, and it becomes static. So they fail to grow. Yeah, they fail to grow, because when we talk about praising, we want to praise to be able to stimulate a growth mindset. So let's say, I don't know, Zander, has he learned how to swim yet?
So, he can float on his back. He can float on his back.
Yeah. So the wrong way to praise is, wow, you are such a good swimmer, you can float on your back already. You are linking the success with the potential. What you want to praise is, wow, you can already float on your back because you practice it over and over again. You praise the effort, because by praising the effort, you are helping the child to develop a growth mindset. A growth mindset refers to believe that the achievement is much more viable, and that intelligence and problem-solving abilities can be developed over time. So when you praise them, let's say they achieve a certain goal, praise the effort, praise the behavior. The child is good, the child is great. You don't need to link it with an external result. What I can give another example is, your child gets all A's in the exam. So you praise the child. Wow, congratulations, you get all A's because you're clever. Not very healthy, because you are linking it to the innate potential. So I'm clever, that's why I get good grades. Guess what? Studies have shown that children who are praised for who they are, when they meet a problem that is difficult for them to solve, they give up. because I'm so clever and yet I can solve this problem. So nothing is going to help me. However, when you praise the child's achievement on the effort, the outcome is that when they come across a bigger problem, they'll put in bigger effort because they know that the result comes from the effort. And when it comes to effort, I can put more and more and more. So this is where we want to be able to use praise in the right way. If you want to say your child is good, your child is wonderful, do that unconditionally. Do not link it with any successes or achievements that they have. Just say to them, I love you anyway. You're a good boy. You're a good girl. You are good. You are great. You are wonderful. You are unique. Do not link it to whatever real world achievements out there. The moment there are real world achievements, you link it to the effort, to the behavior. Praise the effort. Wow, you learned to skip in just under 2 hours. I know you were able to do that because you were practicing, practice. So that's the first point. Go ahead. Anyone has got any questions or comments?
So the question is, this needs parental skill. What the using the power of saying to the children and say the right thing, the growth mindset against the fixed mindset, that is crucial in making that the mind of the child to grow, because of we affirm and we say good about his effort, his behavior. Yeah? So that will leave him a bigger room for him to grow. And that requires parental skill.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So it demands on us parents to be able to differentiate between the child as a being and the child who is doing. Okay, separate between the child as the being and the child as the doing child. Okay, any other comments? You're good with that one? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Very helpful.
Person and behavior describe different phenomena to be able to distinguish that. So let's move to the second one. The second one is feedback. Yeah. The first one is praise and affirmation. The second one is feedback. Now, feedback comes in when things go wrong. Praise and affirmation comes in when things go right. When things go wrong, that's where we want to bring in the feedback. Now, the intention for feedback is skill development. We cannot develop our skill without the right feedback, without sensory-based feedback. So as parents, if we want our children to become successful, we want to give them specific sensory-based feedback. Now, in order to create that the state of receiving feedback, then we need to create the frames. Frames are our beliefs and values, and these are something that we want to bring to our children. So what are the frames that will be useful for feedback? One frame is there is no failure, only feedback. So our children, once they know that when they do something, it doesn't work, hey, it just doesn't work. It doesn't mean I failed or I'm a failure. It's just telling me that the strategy that I use is not working. So there is no failure, only feedback. And another frame that we use is that we human beings succeed by making small corrections along the way for success. So mistakes are good because from mistakes we learn, we correct, and we can become more successful. So the frame that mistakes lead to success. So that relieves the child from the pressure of making mistakes. I remember when my youngest daughter, she's now 24, when she was little, she came to the point whereby she can so happily admit mistakes to the extent that oops, I made a mistake. Okay, I'll make correction from that. So so there is no stigma about making mistakes, and some children, they grow up with that stigma. Don't make any mistake. If you make any mistake, you die. That kind of pressure. Yeah. So the frame of it's okay to make mistakes. I learn from my mistakes. So these are the frames that we need to bring to our children, so that when we give them feedback, the feedback is given from the state of love, from the state of joy, and the child will receive the feedback from the states of love and joy and from the state of learning. Otherwise, if we don't build those frames, the child will be very tense whenever parents want to make mistakes. So what wrong are you going to point about me this time? So now they are building that wall. So those frames are critical to be built in order for us to get our children to receive feedback. So over here, as parents, it demands that we have skills in coaching, because skills in coaching goes in all together in order for us to give useful feedback. The skill of listening, the skill of supporting, the skill of questioning. This allows us to understand the child's model of the world, and then from there to be able to bring in the skill of giving and receiving feedback. Only sensory-based feedback are useful for them. So that's a skill that we as parents need to have. And I mentioned to you the skill of inducing state, the state of love and joy as we give feedback, rather than, I don't know about you, some people, they've gone through life to such an extent that if parents were to say, come here, I have something to tell you, then they begin to go rigid already. I'm going to get whacked this time, that kind of thing. So to be able to give feedback from the state of love, from the state of joy, from the state of curiosity, from the state of learning, right? So the reason why our children need feedback is children are wonderful modelers. They model strategies very quickly, and in order for them to be effective in modeling success strategies, they need to know how they are practicing. Is that in the right way? So being able to give them feedback allows them to practice the strategies in a deliberate way, so that they are applying those strategies in the right way. So this requires us to be together with our children almost all of the time, because when you are interacting with them frequently, that communicative process is a continuous process. And in that way, the feedback becomes just normal conversation, becomes just normal part of daily communicating. Okay, so that's the second one, feedback. Any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Hi, Mazuki, I have a question.
Yes.
How do we advise parents who, okay, so in order for them to give constructive feedback in a way that is helpful, useful to the child, right? In a state of love and joy. What do we advise parents who are unable to be in that state of love and joy, but instead, so I see a lot of parents who, a lot of my swimmers do not have, especially in their teenage years, they start to drift apart from their parents and find that their parents don't listen to them. That's the sentence they always use, and they're very judgmental. And when I speak to the parents, they always, there's a lot of frustration. When they want to give feedback, it's always coming from, I feel like from a direction where they feel like, oh, I put in so much work and so much time in my child, yeah. And then this is what, whatever result they get, which is not good enough. So how can I advise parents to, change that mindset or that state? Yeah, and that's a lot of feedback that I get from the swimmers as well. Oh, I talk to my parents, I share with them how I feel, and I'm trying to be honest, but they always say like, yeah, I put so much time and effort in you, and that line is being used a lot.
So what you are mentioning goes to my point number 4.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because point number 4 is, I call it value reinforcement. However, reinforcing values, reinforcing values are you are communicating to the child what's important. Now, if you don't have the right communication skill, if you are not communicating to the child according to their stages of growth, reinforcing values become nagging. You want the child to have a certain value of industry, to work hard. You are not matching it according to the child's growth. And this is where a lot of parents, I would say, have a misstep, because they don't realize that by the age of 12, the child goes through another stage of individuating, and they are not honoring this new individual. They are taking the child as if it's still the kid that I have for these last 10 years. They have not changed the paradigm that this is a totally different person altogether. And I keep mentioning to you, I learned so much from little children. And this is one of the things that I learned from my, those of you who are not familiar, my eldest granddaughter, I call her Grasshopper. I learned so much from her. Before the age of 10, I noticed that I was interacting with her in a certain way because that's who she was. Now she's 12, going to 13. I'm not interacting with her in that same way anymore, because she doesn't need that kind of interaction. Before the age of 12, she needed a playmate, and I was her best playmate, and I interacted with her as her playmate. But now she's 13. She doesn't need a playmate anymore. She needs a friend. And grandfather cannot be a friend. So luckily, my eldest daughter, the age is close. So I bring Grasshopper towards her aunt. So they are friends. They are best of friends. Not just friends. They are sisters. So to acknowledge, to honor the fact that this is a different human being. And this is the misstep that many parents overlook. They thought that it's the same one. Got that? Waiman, you have anything that you want to say?
No, I just really echo what you're saying. Is it's so important to consider the stage of development of the child and speak to that stage, because the child is ever evolving. Yeah. And if you don't evolve your parenting with this child, then you're going to miss, it's a missed opportunity per se. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. So that's a good point that you raised there, Marilyn. Okay, let's move to the third point. The third point is, okay, I've mentioned the fourth point, so let's go to that one. I call it value reinforcement. Now, it refers to keep telling the child what's important, what needs to be done. You need to keep doing that. Now, as I said to you earlier, you need to reinforce values according to the child's stage of development. Because if you don't, not just according to the child's stage of development, you also need to reinforce values according to the child's, and let me use the word, according to the child's meta programs, how they operate. Different people operate in different ways. Horses for causes. So how you affirm certain values needs to be according to how the child is. Marilyn, you raise your hand. What? Yeah, go ahead.
I have a quick question. So in children, right, are meta programs, are they born with, or is that nurtured? Is that from, you know, the environment? Are they born with a certain meta program?
From what I observe, they have a certain meta programs already by default. However, they are very malleable. Malleable meaning to say they will take on what's around them. And because the reason why I say that is Grasshopper, she has this meta program of always looking at things from the funny side of things. So even though when she was in the womb, her mama became that funny person because her meta program was so strong, it influences the mama. So when she was born, she began to behave in that particular way. It's just that children are excellent modelers. So if they notice in their surrounding, operating in that way is advantageous, serves their purpose, they will continue to operate in that way. However, if the environment shows them that operating in that way is not advantageous for them, they'll change. They'll change very easily. So that's why be careful between father and mother. They know how to dance their way around you. No worries about that. They are excellent modelers. They model. Yeah? So meta programs are changing. We can change our meta programs. So when we talk about value reinforcement, what we want to reinforce to them are goals, beliefs, values, understandings, because they come into this world like a white piece of cloth. They are open to impression. And we as parents, in order to maintain rapport with our children, we want to educate or bring to their model of the world the values, the beliefs that we have. Now, the intention for value reinforcement is so that they will lead a life that is intentional rather than attentional life. Little children, until the age of 12, their life is attentional. Whatever takes their attention, they'll go for it. They've not developed the matrix of intention yet. They don't have that until, because why I say the age of 12, because around that time, according to Piaget's cognitive developmental stages, it is around that time, between 7 to 11, then they begin to develop the concrete operational stage. And according to Fowler's belief stages, that is stage 4. It's about the same time, about 10 to 12 years old, what is called the individuative reflective faith. This is how our children develop beliefs. Yeah. So prior to that, their lives is always going to what's in front of them. So that's why this value reinforcement, we need to reinforce with them the value. For example, goals. Okay, it is time for you to go to bed. It is almost let's say it is almost 7 o'clock. You need to go to bed. Yes, you say go to bed at 7. Just before they go to bed, 5 minutes to 7, they notice a bug crawling underneath the sofa. They are attentional creatures. Now they've forgotten that they need to go to bed. The bug is taking all of my attention. So that's why as parents, you want to continue to put the goals in front of them. To put, when they go to school, you want to put the goal of doing their homework. You have to do it every day. Because instead of homework, there is something else that comes up. Yeah, so that's why I need to bug you to go, and parents need to nag the child to do their piano practice or swimming practice or whatever, because they don't have that yet. So yes, as parents, we need to continue to reinforce them. It's just that if you do that reinforcement in the wrong way, it becomes nagging. And I don't know about you, I don't like to be nagged. So, so when it becomes nagging, you are creating the opposite effect. The child creates a hatred or dislike for what they are supposed to do. And this is also where parents need to learn to continuously reinforce values and beliefs using storytelling, using debriefing or unpacking. In NLP, we call them unpacking. Something happens, we unpack the steps that happen. What are the reasons behind those? So using those skills, using the skill of spaced repetition. So you say it once, you say it twice, you say it 500 times, spaced repetition, so that they have time to breathe. And then you repeat it in ways that are loving and fun. So this is where, as parents, to have the skill of coaching, using the coaching conversations of metaphor, metaphorical conversations. So using metaphors of children below the age of 10, they love animals, using metaphors of animals in order to reinforce a certain value. So this is what value reinforcement. You are reinforcing beliefs, values, you are reinforcing goals. Little children, they need to have small goals in order to develop. And when you do it in the right way, according to their growth process, then those they embrace, they embrace what you have reinforced to them. Okay, so any questions or comments? Yes.
There are parents out there who are, I mean, on one extreme, they don't have that feedback system. Either the father, especially, they just keep quiet because he believes in a laissez-faire. Okay, it's free for all. And this, on the other extreme, the mother gives feedback. And the way the feedback comes is in a loop whereby the children was pressured down. And I wonder what will happen to this kind of child. Will they get confused when they grow up?
Depending on the, I use the word meta program. If the child runs a compliance meta program, they just obey. Yeah, they just obey. In the Arabic term is sami'na wa ata'na. I hear and I obey. That's why in Waiman, you are not familiar. However, in Malaysia, whenever government, when we receive letters from the government, they will sign off the letter with, I use the Malay word first, saya yang menurut perintah. It means when they sign off the letter, I am the one who obeys command. So government letters, they at the bottom, instead of yours sincerely, they have saya yang menurut perintah. I'm the one who obeys command. So that's why I send you this letter. Yeah. So if your child runs the compliance meta program, you nag the child will just follow. Especially it's just because now I have a recollection. If the child has a mismatching meta program, yeah, a difference meta program, the parent nag, and because the child doesn't have initially doesn't have the physical power, and later on, because being so inhibited by that mental and emotional stress coming from the parents, the worst thing that can happen to a child, if you've ever noticed that, and I have that experience noticing it, it breaks the will. It breaks the will. And will, if you remember, one of our social virtues. A child grows without will. And without the will, I just use the word sad. It's really sad. Watching a grown-up doesn't have will. We call it no backbone. Yeah. So if the child is more matching, complying, you force your will on the child may follow. However, if the child is non-complying, a mismatching meta program, they will fight and they will rebel. Or if they are not allowed to fight, not allowed to rebel, the will breaks. And for a human being, that is one of the worst fates that can come to a human being, to lose their own will. Okay, and the situation in today's world is, to a large extent, I would say, comes to this sort of parenting, to force the parents' demand on the child, because one of the what we consider as characters that is lacking in today's leaders is the lack of willpower. So if you were to do the research in leadership, the number one complaint that people in leadership position, people who wants to grow new leaders, is that my people do not have the willpower. And it goes back to the parenting. Okay. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So moving to point number 3, we talked about point number 4 just now. Point number 3 is about relationships. Children, when they come into this world, they are stuck in their self matrix. They just know about the self. They need to learn about others. So the intention for this next category is so that our children can grow up and have healthy and harmonious relationships, social relationships. Social in the context of the small social group, that's the family, to be able to operate well in the family. And then the larger social group in society. So the intention is when they are able to learn about social relationships, they are able to move in the social circle. Otherwise, we have situations, for example, when I first knew about this example, it was in Japan. However, there are documented cases in many other countries of the world. In Japan, they have a name to it. They call these people the Hikikomori. The Hikikomori, they are so socially awkward, they withdraw from society. And these Hikikomoris are already, many of them are already in their middle ages, 40 something, and yet they have not stepped out of their bedroom. Don't talk about stepping out of their house. They have not even stepped out of the bedroom for years. So their aging parents are taking care of them. So this is the outcome when our children do not learn social skills. So this is what I call minding relationships. Now this requires emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is about awareness of self. It's about the awareness of others. It's about being able to control self, and it's about managing relationships with others. Now, minding relationships is important because it allows us to fit in the culture. And wherever you are, cultures are different. So that's also the reason why we human beings, when we were born, we don't have any content. We need to learn the content so that we can align ourselves with the local content. So that's why when if you were to be born in Klang, it just so happened that many of you are from Klang today. You were born in Klang, you grow up in Klang, there is a certain culture that you learn from there, as opposed to growing up in Machang, Kelantan. So that's why we human beings, we don't have content. We need to learn it from the environment. So learning about relating with other human beings allows us to build rapport. So that's why as parents, we want to teach our children the social norms, the family norms, the social norms, so that they can fit into the society. Now, what we also want to be able to help our children is, in as much as we want them to learn about social norms so that they can fit and be in rapport with society, we do not want it to be at the expense of their authenticity. That need to have that balance, because some of the social norms that we have, some of them are driven by superstition. You know, things like a pregnant woman shouldn't do any sewing, because if they sew while they are pregnant, the child will be born with a cleft palate. Okay, so some social norms are driven by superstition. So we want to be able to get them to understand what are the social values, social norms, at the same time to be driven by intellect, to be driven by logic, and also to be driven by the individual, the child, him or herself. So need to have that balance, to not be so confined by the social matrix to the extent that you lose your individuality. So there is that balance between society and self. Okay, so this is what I'm referring to as a minding relationship. So how do you do that? As parents, you want to have that togetherness with your children all the time, so that your child will know what are the social graces, social norms. For example, when I was growing up, we were taught that as children, if we were to walk in front of the older people, the elderly, I see Marilyn smiling already. We cannot just walk straight up, back straight like that. That's rude. So we have to bend our body a bit in deference to the older people. So those are things that allows us to fit well in society. And what I'm referring to is that to have that balance so that it doesn't go against a person's individuality, to have that that balance to come in. Okay, so that's in the context of minding relationships. Any comments or questions? Go ahead.
Marzuki?
Yes, Mana.
I think so far, and I'm keeping reflecting on every stage that you mentioned. And what I'm noticing that for any parent to be able to do this, they need to be able to do it with themselves first, because if they don't know how to do it with themselves, they will be unable to do it with their children. So actually, I was reflecting on many things, for example, feedback. So I wondered, how do I give myself as a feedback? And I realized the process itself, it's painful. So, and I believe this is the challenge of all parents, that for them to be able to do something with their kids, they need to learn it first, and they haven't learned it because it wasn't done with them. So that's the main challenge from my point of view. So need to be aware, number one, where I am from this, how do I do it with myself, and its impact, and then modify with myself, and then I'll be able to do it with others. That's my reflection. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm clapping my hand for that reflection, Manal. Absolutely. So that's why in Neuro-Semantics, it has become a often repeated word: apply to self first. Because as parents, we lead, and how we lead by example. We lead by example. That's why I mentioned the states. So when we do things, what states are we operating from? Because children, they don't learn so much from what we say. They learn from what they observe. The unconscious, the unsaid, they learn from those. They can detect our states. So when we do things from the right states, that's where they are learning. So that's why we need to apply to self first. So the skills of giving feedback, the skills of communicating. So we need to learn those and communicate it in those ways, regardless of what their ages are. Apply to self first.
Very true. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Mana.
So true.
Thank you. Anyone else has got any comments? Got that? Welcome, Satria. I noticed that you just joined us.
Yeah, apologies. Came from another meeting.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
So I just listened in because I'm late. So hopefully there will be a video for.
Yes.
All right.
Inshallah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll just bring in another point because now it's past, it's 9:20 already. However, I just want to bring in this point because I looked at it just now. The next point is, I would say, it brings benefit both ways. both sides. Yeah. The point is tasks in the house, the tasks that we do in the house. I deliberately use the word task because a lot of people use the word chores. Yeah. I urge you, I plead to you, I beg you to take that word chores and throw it out of your vocabulary. What state does it bring you, the word chore? You feel so heavy and disgusted, you have to do it. So instead of chores, tasks. Why? Tasks are important for our children, for us to bring to our children, because tasks teach them to be industrious. In that way, it helps them to develop competency. And the intention behind tasks, again, just to repeat that, the intention behind tasking for our children is to develop competency, and competency comes from the effort that they put in order for them to be skilled in a certain way. So when we talk about task, they will start doing the task at the level of incompetence. So that's why as parents, you need to have a lot of patience. It's very quick, very easy for you to do it yourself because you're already competent. However, if you don't give your child the opportunity to do it, I'll use the word, if you deprive your child of doing tasks, you are depriving your child of being competent in doing that. So how do you get your children to do tasks in the home? It's through togetherness, being together with the child, doing things together. So instead of throwing Xander into the swimming pool, Mama has got to go into the swimming pool with Xander, right? Or was he already born a water baby? So this is where, as parents, we lead by example. So absolutely what Manal has just mentioned just now. We need to have those skills first. We lead by example to clean the house, to cook. We need to do that. And very important, what are the states that we are doing it? That's why earlier I mentioned this for me, I find that these are the two core states that parents need to be in: the state of love and the state of joy. When you cook from the state of love and joy, your child will want to cook with you and your child will learn how to cook. When you clean the house from the state of love and joy, the child will want to clean the house from the state of love and joy. Rather than being, oh, do I have to do that? You see, when you use the word chores, you say, okay, this is your chore, this is your chore. That's when you start to argue. Oh, but Mama, I don't want to do that. Why does he have to? His is easier. So when you do things, lead by example, you do those tasks together. You are living together in that home by performing all of those tasks. For example, by cleaning the toilet, you make sure that your toilet stays clean. So you clean the toilet from the state of love and joy, because when I clean the toilet, we can enjoy the toilet is clean. And the child, Mama, can I clean the toilet with you? So instead of chores, do it out of love and out of joy. So you get two benefits. One is the benefit of what? You get assistance in the house. You know, remember I mentioned to you, Grasshopper at the age of 6 went up to Mama and said, Mama, can I do the laundry from A to Z? So since then, my daughter doesn't need to do the laundry anymore. And the other is tasks. Apa dia?
He comes out again.
Oh yes, yes. We keep mentioning between the two of us. Grasshopper keeps popping up in every time I open my mouth. And when we invite I'm deliberately using the word invite. When we want our children to do the task, we invite them to do it. Would you like to do this with me? And if the child says no, remember the child is attentional. They may be now be so focused on the bug that just crawled on the floor. You say, would you like to help me with the dishes? No, they have something on. Okay, you can join me later. So this is inviting instead of forcing. Or if you go, or you expect mama to do it by myself, you are not going to help me. Now you are throwing guilt. So from the state of love and joy, leading by example, making it fun and joyful, they'll begin to do tasks and you get two benefits. One is you get your helper for the home, and the other is at the same time you are developing the child, developing competency, developing industry in the child. So that's point number 5 that I'm bringing here. So open up for questions or comments.
Marzuki,
yes.
Here also another reflection for me when you mentioned about the benefit both ways. I just realized that this is about developing their ability of being able to accept help and being able to ask and take help, because when the parent does this, so they learn it. And actually this is a skill that it's not common, that it's either the parent when they're impatient, it's either I'll do it myself so I don't need anything from you, or either you do it good. So which actually doesn't help us. So it's either I would be totally dependent on someone to do the whole thing, or I do it alone. So it doesn't develop the idea of we can do it together. So I just realized that this helps in this area.
Wow. Thank you very much for that, Manal. That point about asking for help and giving help. This was something that I only realized recently. I don't know how to ask for help. Seriously. It came through a coaching conversation. I was being coached by another meta coach, and as I thought about it,
buat sekejap.
Apa dia, Ji?
Oh,
sorry.
Sorry, saya. I should have mute. Yeah, you don't know how to ask for help.
And at the age of what? This year I should be what? 62, right? At the age of 61, not yet 62. At the age of 61, I realized that I didn't know how to ask for help. So I struggle because I wait for people to offer me help. Only then I will receive. I didn't know how to ask for help. And that's why the point that Manal mentioned is very important. That as parents, we ask for their help in the right way. In that way, we are teaching them that it's okay to ask for help from others. Because we human beings, we coexist. We need each other's help. And a very important skill, the skill of asking for help. So now that I've learned how to ask for help, I'm warning all of you that I may be asking for help in some way or the other. Right. So this evening we've managed to cover 5 of those. I intended to bring to your attention 7. However, it is already 9:30. I believe that we can just stop here. Now, these are the 7 that I plan to mention. we covered the first 5, praise and affirmation. That's one thing that we can do in order to help our children to grow, to become successful. Giving sensory-based feedback, because that's how they practice the skills in the right way. Minding relationships is about them to be able to connect and relate with other human beings, to have mutually enhancing relationships. Minding relationships, we need to give them the content about how we need to relate, because how we relate are different from culture to culture. So we have different ways of relating. You know, things like if it is in Japan, my daughter-in-law is Japanese. In Japan, when they meet one another, they bow. That bow means respect, and that bow also means I love you. Yeah, so that is cultural, and we need to teach our children this. However, if you were to go to, let's say, Italy, when they meet each other, even though they've just met 5 minutes ago and they meet again, they go all over and hug one another. So that's the culture is. So we need to teach our children the cultural nuances to relationships, and also not just cultural. We also need to understand at the basic human level, humanity, how human beings relate. The other one that we covered is on reinforcing values, reinforcing to our children about goals. They need to have goals in their lives, because their lives are attentional until they're about 12. They are attentional. So goals direct their attention. So teaching them how to be intentional in their life. Small goals, things like waking up on time to go to school, doing their homework. Those are small goals that we put in front of them to teach them that they can be driven by intention. And the 5th one that we covered just now was tasks, to get them to be operating, to get them to be together in the household, because we are living together in the house. So we take on the task. That is also about learning about responsibility. What we did not discuss this evening about the girls and boys, the differences between girls and boys, and I consider is looking it from the humanistic perspective, and also from the physiological and biological perspective. There are differences and there are similarities. These are things that we need to bring to our children as well. And then for long-term sustainable health, to be able to bring to their attention, they need to learn about money and health, the difference between, wealth. What is wealth, what is money, and the differences between the two, so that they can have a healthy relationship to money, to wealth, because these are things that impacts their long-term stability in life. Okay, so these are the things that we may have covered. So we've come to the end of the session. I really appreciate you all being here. Before we end, I would just like to hear your voices. If you have mic available. So I just like to. I'm going to start off with the top right-hand corner of my screen. So Guat Ching, are there any things that you would like to say?
Nothing to add on. Thank you, Marzuki.
Thank you. Guat Ching. And Marilyn, go ahead.
I think I speak for everyone when I say that we'll be more than happy to help Marzuki.
Thank you.
I'm just waiting for you to ask.
Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful session and for reminding us that how important and what a huge responsibility we have as parents.
Thank you. And Jason?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Saadah, you don't have a mic, right? You are using from your desktop computer. Moving on to Waiman.
Yeah, I think I echo what you said, Marzuki, that my children have been my biggest teachers about myself ultimately as well. Yeah. So thank you for this really valuable session, Marzuki.
Thank you, Waiman. And over to you, Faisal.
Okay, I have learned a lot tonight. Comparing to the way I was raised, is totally different. Okay, that's all for me tonight.
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you. So what it means that a lot of unlearning and relearning to be done.
Yeah. That the one that I learned about how I was raised, I will not implement on my daughter.
Yeah. Thank you. And over to you, Hashim.
Yeah, lesson learned to me is it's never too late to learn. That's number one. And never use the word, never use the word chores. Use the word task. Because the word chores is equivalent to discipline. Yeah, and it's a very heavy word. And I think the key lesson that I can take is that successful children means children that are contributing to the society. It's the very large meaning of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Hashim. Thank you. And Chirag.
Hi, sorry, I forgot. I'm stumbling with this mute
Yes.
button. To be honest, a lot of things that you have said is a reflection of my childhood, and I already have come to this, to whatever you have told me, conclusions, I already have come to this. To be honest, I'm not married and I don't have a child. But I was just having this talk with my girlfriend and how would we raise a child. And whatever you have said, I didn't study this, but a lot of it was basically looking back at my parents and just looking back at my experience and just knowing that I'm going to do it this way instead of that way. But yeah, thanks for your for affirming a lot of what I was thinking. And yeah, I was never ever going to be, chase my children academically. It's not important, I know. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Bonnie?
Everything makes sense, but doing it is a whole different thing. So, like you said, they have attention span of like an ant and they will follow the ant. That is so right. And my daughter is like 5 going on 15. So it's challenging, and you need to have like so much patience to do it if you have to say like the 10th time, you love and joy, that doesn't really come out well. It's like, do it now, more like that. Then please do it, please do it. I always say, if you don't do it after the 3rd or 4th time, the monster starts coming out. And then I say, I'm not at fault if the monster comes out. So it is really a challenge. I don't know now the kids are they are way so fast in their thinking and the way they answer you, the way they talk, definitely not like us. We don't talk back that time. And the way they reason out, I'm like, simple thing like, you're not wearing a telekung and you're praying. And she says, I don't have to wear telekung yet. It's not time yet for me. I'm still young. Like, huh? So it is very challenging to maintain the sanity, especially when you are in the rush. I bribe. The way to get her to do it fast is I bribe. I'm such a bad mom. I have to confess. So if I want to get her out the house fast, I say, "Ooh, someone's waiting for us," like this. So I always have some bribes available like that. So it's just the struggle to manage to manage well, I would say. To manage like a monster is easier. To manage well, it's to be the loving, peaceful, kind, compassionate mom. That's a challenge sometimes. Like you say, because at the age they really are distracted. Even eating, if you don't tell them to eat, they won't eat because they're distracted. So it's a constant challenge, I would say. I don't know why it's 5 going on 15 so fast. So, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I feel blessed, but at the same time, when I look at her when she's sleeping, like, oh, thank you for all the excitement today. Who knew you could be so busy with a 5-year-old? Okay, so that's the whole time was just holding on. Peace and loving, peace and loving. While I'm feeding her. Okay, thank you, Marzuki. I'll try to listen back and remind myself I'm a peace and loving mom. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wani. Thank you, Wani. And probably that's the reason why I started off with looking at the definition of a successful child, so that we can see the forest, not just the trees, because the tree might look very prickly right now. However, if we have our eyes set on the forest, that gives our behavior the right intention. That will help us to modify our behavior, actually. Okay, moving on to Fadilah.
Hello, Cik Marzuki, so thank you. Lot of reflection tonight. Of course, I would like to recap. Encik Hashim mentioned about some of the parents are more towards academic, they're concerned whether this is related to exam or not. And the fact that I observe the kids, the children nowadays, looking for something that is relatively simple and enjoying. I don't know if you experience, but I observe. I also once I was told from my friends that their kids, the ambition is to be YouTuber. And suddenly my daughter also mentioned the same thing. So they are moving. They look something that is simple yet enjoying. They don't really bothering about intellectual things. Why we bother? There's a lot of Insta famous, all that. So this kind of challenge, and it's challenge, and I have to really, when I go through your points, number 2, feedback is something that I have to learn. When the kid tell, I want to be a YouTuber, what? So of course, the mom needs to learn and change, perhaps the meta program, all that. So a lot of things that the take-home notes lah for tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. Marzuki. Perhaps I have to learn how to become like Ibu Ros. Come and loving.
Inshallah. Yeah, thank you very much. A lot of things go through my mind as you were mentioning that. So that's why for those who have attended my effective parenting program, I start off the program by saying parenting is a complex set of skills. As what Fadilah mentioned, in order for you to carry out all of these things, there are so many skill sets that you need to have. The good news is that you can learn all of them when you learn it one at a time. And that's the good news. So if there are some skill sets that you do not yet have, just pick one and go and learn that. In that way, you increase your effectiveness as a parent. Okay, thank you. Mark, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Been here all along. Just got to take out the 2 kids, put them to bed just now. Thanks, Mr. Marzuki. It's been great. Deidre, I think, attended the course a couple of weeks ago. She reminded me to sit in and making sure that we align as parents, because it's important to be aligned from both of parents. So my take back is that it takes two to tango. I think both sets, left and right hand, has to play a part. It's just not on one side, like the mom alone. Dad has to play their roles as well. So I think it's great. It's a journey. It's an everlasting long journey that we are learning continuously, and I'm great to be part of it. I'm really, really happy to be a father, Mr. Mazuki, and I'm enjoying every moment of it. Thank you for keeping us updated, and of course encouraging us to go on to the right path. Always enjoy your lectures and your talks. I just hope that we can meet up. It's been quite a while, Mr. Mazuki. So thank you again for the session. Totally enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it.
I miss you too, Mark. And over to you, Danielle.
I thank you, Mr. Mazuki, for tonight's sharing. It's a good reflection for me again. I think it's never too, how to say, it is never too late to learn. That's right. And also, I will have to continue to reflect, because I'm not a very impatient mom, so I sometimes shout at them. So after shouting, then I feel guilty, but sometimes I can't help doing it. So I think this is a good way to remind myself to actually practice the points that you teach us just now. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Oops, I have lost. Hold on. Okay, so I lost that camera just now. Sorry. And moving on to Manal. Go ahead.
For me, Mazuki, it's my two key insights are this checklist is actually for myself to keep my stability. So I need to go through it one by one and to see where I am from it. Because, for example, in value reinforcement, you said that we always need to put the goals in front of them. So we teach them by intention. And I was reflecting on myself. Am I able to do this for myself? And I realized no. And actually, this is part of it, that I need to learn to be able, and even someone of the attendees just mentioned that how difficult it is with the kids. So I was wondering if we learned that if we always remember why we're doing this for the kids, it will make it easier. But if we don't have the skill of putting the goals in front of ourselves the whole time, then it makes sense that it is difficult for us. So this is my first key insight, and definitely into reflection for each phase, because I can see things that I'm totally short of, doing things from a state of joy and love. I didn't learn that yet. And my other insight is kids came to the world as a mirror for us to learn and develop. So actually the kids are out there to help us to develop. Not it's for us to help them, or actually it's both ways, but reality is they are they're our mirror. So they show us what we are short of and what do we need, and if we helped ourselves, you'll be able to help them.
Thank you, Mana, for that. That's very meaningful insight that you have. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. And next, Satria.
Thank you, Mr. Mazuki. So far we have been doing quite well with implementing tasks. So I have 3 boys at home, 2 15, which are twins, and 1 younger one, 12. But I think there's one new aspect lah. So when you manage to get 1 or 2 of them to do the task with love and willingness, right? And then there will be one naughty one that is lazy or something and start influencing the other ones. So that's another dimension. Probably need you to comment also next session probably. You know, how do we manage that? then some of your work, you know, gets overridden.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Good. So you discover that your children, none of them are the same.
Exactly. I have twins and they're actually totally different. Although they look the same, but it's a totally different character.
Okay, thank you, Satria. And okay, Vanessa has put in the chat box that she's not able to switch on her mic because the place where she's in is quite noisy. So thank you very much for joining us, Vanessa. Please give my regards to Eldam. Thank you for being here. And last but not least, Ibu Rose, anything that you like to say?
It's really not fair for me to say much because I had to leave just now for a while because I was called for something, and I'm glad to hear that many have managed to achieve and learn a lot from the session. If you are feeling very tired and most of the time very angry, just know that parenting is like that. But grandparenting will be different. And the good news is our children will always, we will always worry regarding our children. Even though they're already big, they have children of themselves, we are still will be concerned about them. And like Bonnie mentioned just now, 5 years old. Bonnie, when you have children at the age of 30 plus, you have the same problem. It's a different version. However, because they come with the little ones, so it will be joy and happiness. I just would like to share one of our grandchildren. His name is Ismail. However, we call him Mayan. And he loves his grandfather so much. He wants to be like his grandfather. So during that time when not yet MCO, he came to the house and I asked him the question, Ismail, why do you love grandfather so much? And he was like stunned by my question. And he said, because I love everyone. So there are a lot of sweetness in children. And sometimes we just focus on not the sweet one. That's why we go bonkers. So my suggestion is focus on the sweet one. Because when you become grandparents, you focus on the sweet one. That's why you don't have much problem with grandparenting. So that is my experience about being a grandparent and also Mazuki's experience. So for us, when we are not able, during this time, the MCO, we're not able to see them. It's just like somebody has taken the sugar energy from us. So just know that you'll come to that and just know that you are contributing a lot of goodness to your parents through your children. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. So everyone, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate and honor for you joining me this evening. I look forward to seeing you again the next time. Next week, we shift gears to be discussing on neurosemantics and neurosemantics. I'm currently focusing on the leadership aspect. It's about self-actualizing leadership from neurosemantics. So with that, everyone, thank you very much. Have a good night. May God bless you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Until we meet again, inshallah.
Terima kasih.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.